I want to welcome everyone to MAREP's 5th annual Alzheimer Awareness event. I've got the music in me, the power of music for people living with memory loss and dementia. Thanks everybody for being here today. Thank you to our special guests. Thank you to our partners, our friends, and for joining us here today. We have a really special afternoon planned for you. An afternoon of learning and sharing and music. That's what we're here today. That's what we're here to do today, is to make music, as my friend Michelle would say. We're going to make music together, and we're going to hopefully entertain you a bit with some really unique things that we have to offer this afternoon. My name is Lisa Loisel, and I'm the Associate Director at the Murray Alzheimer Research and Education Program. And I'm going to be your MC, host for today. For over 20 years, the Murray Alzheimer Research and Education Program here at the University of Waterloo has been integrating research and education, research and education to improve dementia care practices in Canada and around the world. MAREP's been recognized for our very unique, authentic partnership approach, working closely with people living with dementia, their families, and formal care providers in the creation of very practical and relevant resources and tools that can enhance the well-being for those in the dementia care circle. So we're here today because it's Canada's Alzheimer Awareness Month in January. And in Canada and across the world, more and more people, as we know, are being diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's disease or related dementia. According to the Alzheimer's Society of Ontario, in 2011, over three-quarters of a million Canadians are living with a form of dementia, with a cognitive impairment, such as dementia. And the number is expected to double in the next decade. Despite the increasing awareness, public awareness and understanding about dementia, there are still many misconceptions and misunderstandings, most of which are negative and stigmatizing. For over 2 decades, MAREP has actively engaged in research and the creation of education tools to address the misunderstandings and to broaden people's understanding of what and how people live well with dementia. At MAREP, we believe that if people open their minds and their hearts to the possibilities, a new perspective about dementia can arise. One in which people will come to notice and see how people living with dementia can still, and who are living a meaningful and fulfilling life. Whether it's staying active and engaged in leisure activities that they previously enjoyed, or new leisure activities, such as playing music, a musical instrument, or being involved in research, such as the work that MAREP does, or in creating new programs and services. People are also, they can also really strengthen the relationships and build new ones as well. And despite living with a chronic illness such as dementia, people living with dementia may find meaning and purpose. So the theme, as I mentioned, for today's event is the power of music. Music is everywhere. As I was sitting writing my notes the other night, I was actually listening to the ticking of the clock on my wall, which some people may find annoying. However, I found it very rhythmic and very soothing as I was sitting quietly thinking of what I wanted to say today. Also, this time of year, the whistling of the wind outside when there's storms. Music really has the ability to reach us deep in our soul, to comfort us, to provide us with joy, and it's also a means of expression. I'm from the era where making mixed tapes for the person that you care for was very common practice, so cassette tapes, not discs, and even 8-track tapes. So it's, this is what we did. We would share how we felt with somebody through music. So the reason, I just wanted to share with you a little bit the reason why we actually called it I've Got the Music in Me. Again, going back to that era, These are lyrics from a song called Magic Power, and the band that performed this is a Canadian band called Triumph. Is anybody familiar with that? So this was actually, for me, this was a very powerful time because this was my very first concert when I moved to Toronto, my very first concert at Maple Leaf Gardens when it was called Maple Leaf Gardens, and I was actually sitting front row center. And the lead singer even made eye contact with me. I know it was me. It wasn't anybody standing behind me, it was me. So the reason the second reason that I decided to call it I've Got the Music in Me is that, I don't know if you've heard of a documentary called Alive Inside. It's a very, very powerful documentary, and it really is about that music that's in their soul. And there's a number of stories that are shared by the people who are featured in the documentary. Some of them who have not spoken in several years even. And through the magic of music and the music that has been loaded onto an iPod for them and placed on their ears, the music actually started to come out in them, in singing, in rhythmic tapping, moving their body, so that the power of the music provided this awakening of their spirit. So that's why, to me, when I watched that documentary, it was like, they're saying, I've got the music in me and I want to share it with everyone. So those are some of the reasons why we decided to go with this theme, and I had a lovely conversation with some of our partners living with dementia and their family member, and they felt that this was a really important topic to go with for our event this year. So before we actually get underway, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the program today. So we're going to start with a 4-person panel. And they'll be talking about, again, the power of music from their own experience, from a more applied perspective, and then also some science behind the power of music. We are also we're going to have a musical performance, and we have a special glee club here today. I was told not to call them a choir. So a glee club with us today that's doing some wonderful work with one of our other guest speakers today, Michelle Allard. And we have our wonderful keynote speaker, Bev Foster, that's here with us today. After that, we'll be presenting a number of special awards to some of our partners that have been working with us for many, many years and doing some great work. I'm now going to turn the microphone over to Dr. James Rush. He's the Dean in the Faculty of Applied Health Sciences here at the University of Waterloo, and he'd like to welcome you here today. So I'll pass it over to Jim.
Yeah, thanks very much, Lisa. And I would like to do just that, to welcome you on behalf of the University of Waterloo to, I think, the first time that the event's on campus, or at least it's a change from last year anyway. So welcome you to the Waterloo campus and this newly renovated Federation Hall. And I'd like to especially welcome you on behalf of the Faculty of Applied Health Sciences, of which Lisa pointed out I'm the Dean. So the vision and mission of our faculty revolves around leadership in health and well-being from a prevention and a health promotion perspective. And what we're really concerned with is improving the quality of life and well-being of individuals and communities and populations. And that's why our vision and mission and the mandate of MERIP resonate so well together, and it's why we're proud to be MERIP's home on the University of Waterloo campus. As Lisa mentioned, Alzheimer's Awareness Month is a great opportunity for raising awareness, showing support, having events such as this. I think the 5th annual of these events, where MERIP and partners get together to put on a showcase event like this. Of course, we all know that 1 month out of the year and a few events out of the year don't characterize the lives that we're all living. So what we need to not lose perspective of course, are the ongoing daily challenges and commitments of all those involved in the cause. So whether that's people living with memory loss or dementia, their families, their caregivers, their support groups, and organizations such as this one that are based on improving the quality of life for all. So while we celebrate and while we enjoy the activities, I think we all share that ongoing daily commitment and perspective as well. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Lisa, referred to the more than 20-year existence of this program, and I'd really like to take the opportunity to acknowledge the founding contributions of our naming benefactor, Ken Murray, for his role in establishing MERIP in partnership. The impact of MERIP can't be underestimated, not only in our own community, where many of you come from today, but in many, many communities throughout the province and across the country, and indeed around the world. I've come to appreciate MERIP. When I think of MERIP, I sort of think of a tree, and it has nothing to do with his good looks, but I think of Ken as sort of the roots of the tree, kind of dirty and buried. No. And then there are some trunks of the tree, some of the early administrators and people that ran the programs, and Lisa would be a trunk. And then there are many, many branches, and then smaller branches and smaller branches. Literally thousands and thousands of these branches that reach out into the world, and all representing impact on individuals or groups or families or communities. And it literally is thousands and thousands of people that have been impacted by the activities that MERIP has organized, and the publications and the products that MERIP produces to help those thousands and thousands of people throughout the world. Just last week, I was in Toronto visiting some friends of the faculty, and we happened to have a meeting with someone who had become a donor to MERIP, and we had no idea where the relationship had come from. So we wanted to follow up to thank him and to find out what the connection was. Well, this particular individual was a professional working in the allied health professions, and he happened to attend a workshop that was being put on by MERIP in Toronto. And so he had this professional connection. He found the training and the stories and the exchange to be so formative in his professional career. It turned out he was also living in a family where his mother was living with memory loss and dementia. And so he had a two-pronged sort of relationship. He had this professional relationship, and he had this very, very personal relationship. And he talked about the transformative impact of some of the guides on how he and his family and his mother lived their lives to maximize the quality of her life in the way that they all interacted with each other. And he also translated that into his professional work. It was a great story, but it was one of thousands and thousands throughout the community, the province, the country, and around the world. And we just don't know about all of them, but they're all there, like those very smallest branches on the tree and the little leaves and buds on the end of all of those branches. So I just leave you with that image, because what you do, the message you bring into the world, the stories you have the courage to share with others, they're affecting all of those people in their interactions with hundreds of other people, and that's how the message spreads and how the support network spreads. I'm going to leave you with that because you don't want to listen to me all afternoon. There's a long list of performers, panelists, speakers that are going to enrich the day, and I really look forward to the rest of the program. So I'll turn it back over to Lisa with, once again, just welcoming you on behalf of the faculty and the university. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those lovely words of MERIP. And again, we couldn't do our work without all of the partners that we work with, and a lot of them are here today. And I thank you all for being here and supporting MERIP with the work that we do. And just to make a little note, I just wanted to share with you one of those little buds growing on the tree. I just got an email from an organization in Russia who is interested in the work that we're doing. So I'm we really do make an impact globally, and I'm very proud and privileged to be working at MAREP. And thank you, Ken, for being the visionary of this program. It's wonderful to have you here in Maryland. All right, and I just wanted to thank Dean Rush as well for the continued support of MAREP, and also and the faculty's focus on health and well-being. I think that's critical, especially for a faculty of applied health sciences. So we do get a lot of support from them, and I want to thank you for that. So today would not be possible without support from partners, other partners, community partners, and I do want to thank very kindly our sponsor today, Home Care Assistance. Matt and Angie are here today. Please take some time to go visit them at their table at the back. They have lots of information to share with you, and I really do want to thank you for being here today and supporting the event, partnering with us on this. Okay. So I will get on with things now. So please enjoy, there's more lunch. Please enjoy throughout. There will be a break a little bit later. You can refill. But sit back, relax, enjoy today's session. So without any further ado, we will start with our facilitated panel discussion, our first item on the agenda. So I'd like to welcome the panelists here today. We have David Knight, Anne-Marie Wilson, Chris Riccamini. Hope I'm saying that right, Chris? Good. And Kristen Falkenberger. They will be joining us for a 30-minute discussion, and what we'll do is ask them questions, and then you'll have a chance to ask questions of the panelists as well. Okay, I'd like to welcome, please help me welcome our panelists to the stage. All right, so our first item on the agenda today is our facilitated panel, The Power of Music for People Living with Memory Loss or a form of dementia. We have our 4 panelists here today. To my immediate left, your immediate right, is David Knight. David's been a partner with MAREP for, gosh, many years. So I'm really pleased that he could be here today. He's got some really great story to share with you. Then we have next to him Anne-Marie Wilson, and then we have Kristen, and then we have Chris down at the end. So I have prepared 4 questions that I'm going to ask. Each of the panelists will respond, and then again, we'll open it up to the audience after each of those questions if you have something that you would like to say or ask them. So to begin with, tell us a little bit about, and maybe David, we can start with you. Tell us about yourself and what your involvement is with music.
Well, hello, can you hear me?
I think you have to hold it really close.
Hello. First, thank you to MAREP for this event and for inviting me to be part of it. I'm very thrilled to be here. I'm a musician. I am a timpanist. And in case you don't know what a timpani are, they're up on the screen. So you can see, I am in the orchestra, the Guelph Symphony Orchestra, the Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber Orchestra, and the Guelph Concert Band. And I played in other orchestras, ballet, opera, symphonies, in many different places. Usually 2, if it's Beethoven or Mozart. It'd be more than that, up to 4 or 5, occasionally 6 for some contemporary music. And you see the pedals there. I change the notes. The music on the page is just the same as a trumpet player, trombone player, or whatever else, a string player. So all my notes are there, and I have to play those notes. And to get those notes, I have to change the tuning by moving my pedal up and down. Music saved me. What do I mean by that? Well, I knew something was wrong. I was having trouble with my lectures. Students were puzzled by some of the things that I said. So eventually I got tested and was given the devastating news of early stage Alzheimer's. And I lived with that for 5 years. In that time, initially, I was very depressed. I lost my job within 2 weeks of the diagnosis. And I gave up. I went into a vegetative state because I thought my life was ended. I couldn't see there was a future. But then I gave up the orchestra playing, gave up the band, and thought that was it. But then I went to the December concert by the orchestra, and I heard the timpanist play, and I went to the conductor after. I said, I can do better than that. And he said, you're right. Come back. So I did. And then I rejoined the band as well. And with the two conductors, I worked out strategies that I could handle the rehearsals and do the counting in different ways, bars rest, because timpanists, unlike violinists, don't play all the time. So I have to count, relearn how to count. But eventually, I got very quickly back into the high level of playing that I'd had for many years, with the encouragement of these two fine musicians. And I just never looked back. Then I was playing music, and then I decided to get back to writing a book I was working on. And I struggled with that, but I did finish it. And I hired an editor to come and do a professional look at it before I sent it to the publisher. And that went off, and that was published. It was a book on music. And I subsequently did other writing and whatever. But it was the music that was speaking to me the whole time. And I also took to writing the program notes for the Guelph Symphony Orchestra. I've done that for about 8 or so years. I know they're very good, because when I read them, they're really good. The thing is, I write them, and then I don't know what I've written. So I read them, and they're fresh. Does that make sense? I'm fine when working with all of the details. I do lots of research and make notes, and then working with those notes come to write the actual notes. And then I send them to a committee of 5, because I want external people to read them before they send them into the program person who puts them into the program. And I read them, and I thought, hey, these are not bad. Then I have to say, I wrote those. And I don't remember all the details. They're just not in my head. And it's the same with playing music. I can, as long as the music's in front of me, it's fine. One time, the conductor said, David, can you just do that from memory? It's only about 8-bar passage. I said, no. I've actually got to see the music, and then I can play it. So some things have changed in me, because I used to be able to play lengthy passages from memory, no longer. But I'm able to play. I'm able to do the writing. I don't sing. I don't dance. I listen to lots of music. Music is around me all the time, and it really is what's important to me.
Thank you, David. Anne-Marie, same question. If you could tell us about yourself and your involvement in music.
I am the only layperson on this panel. I haven't any formal training in music, but music has been a major part of my life and a part of my husband's life. Carl had dementia, and we've been involved in Merit for many years as well. And all the way through in our married life, we took ballroom dancing. And as the disease progressed, Carl wouldn't know, a rumba from a waltz, from a tango. However, he would get out on the dance floor and he would move like Elvis the pelvis. And the only place we really could dance was when we were at Sunnyside, and it was wonderful because there was music every afternoon in the day program, and he'd just get up and bounce all over the place, and he just came alive. It was absolutely wonderful. So he didn't write music. He had some training in music, but he played very well by ear, and he played anything he could get his hands on. And he liked the violin, but he played the piano by ear. And in his younger days, if he was really anxious, with his job and that sort of thing, he would go downstairs and play the piano, and then he could come back up and sleep. And the dancing, as I said, we used to dance 5 times a week at least. And so it's great exercise, and that's something I'd like to say. It's great exercise. He wasn't great for listening to music because he had to get up and move. And so as a support person, I must say that music was very, very important to both of us. When he was in the day program at Sunnyside, Chris, this is old home week for me, was fabulous. He taught Carl to play the xylophone. And Carl loved every minute of it. There was a volunteer there who saw Carl. He just couldn't sit still. He'd have his hands go, and he drove everybody nuts. And so this volunteer got him a set of spoons. And for several years, he would travel with this volunteer around Sunnyside and play the spoons. And he just enjoyed every minute of it. So I highly advise people, whether you think you're a musician or not, just enjoy, because it can really diffuse situations, it can calm people, it can invigorate people. And I have seen people who are non-communicative come alive with the drums when Kristen brings the drums around. And I have seen people who haven't spoken for years sing a Christmas carol when we had the opportunity. So I think this is just marvelous that we're pursuing this.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe where you work and
Sure. So my name is Kristen Falkenberger, and I am a music therapist, and I've had the honor and the privilege to be able to work at Sunnyside Seniors Home, which is a long-term care home, for the last 11 years. And I am so blessed to be able to work there full-time with the older adults and seniors. And my journey with music probably started, my parents would tell you, around the age of 2 or 3. I loved music from a very young age and loved to sing, and I took piano lessons and was involved in a choir. And it was in high school. I didn't even know what music therapy was, but I was able to volunteer with another local music therapist, and I decided that this was the career path for me because I loved music, but I also wanted to be able to help others. And so this is a perfect combination for me.
Thank you, Kristen. And Chris, same thing, if you could tell us about yourself, who you are, and what your involvement is with music.
I'm Chris, and I work in the Community Alzheimer's program at Sunnyside. It's a day program, so I'm the music therapist there, but I work on a team with recreation therapists and nurses and PSWs. And our clients generally come in for the day. They're there from about 10 until 3. We also have 6 overnight beds there as well, and we have a dinner club program for clients who get up a little later and want to come in for an afternoon program. That's 2 days a week. So at our program, I do Anne-Marie alluded to it earlier. We do a large music program in the afternoon with everybody, a big community, sing and dance and things like that. I do a couple of small group music therapies with about 6 people in the group, usually do a couple of those a day, and then at the end of the day, I will usually do some individual music therapy sessions. But because I'm on a team with rec therapists, I'm participating in their programs as well. It's kind of like they're coming to a summer camp or something, and they're trying out a whole bunch of activities throughout the day. Other than my work there, I'm singing the Grand Philharmonic Choir. I'm a piano player. I have my grade 10 from the Royal Conservatory. I'm usually a big concert goer, member of the Chamber Music Society, so I love going to concerts and listening to classical music, which Dave talked about earlier. So music's a part of my life in several ways, and my wife's actually a singer, so it's something that her and I share, is a love of music.
Thank you. And the picture that you'll see on the screen right now is Chris and Carl. Carl's playing the xylophone and Chris is on his piano. Thanks for letting us share the pictures, Anne-Marie and Chris. All right. The next question is, and some of you may have alluded to this already, why is music important for your well-being or the well-being of those that you care for and support?
Well, I think I've already hinted pretty strongly as to why music is so important to me. It gave me a purpose in life that moved on from what my previous life was as an academic. And I've been able to continue to perform. I've been able to, in fact, I took on another orchestra after this all happened. And after I finished university work, so I'm playing in 2 orchestras. Actually, I was playing in 3 at one point, but traveling into Toronto during the winter months got me a little tired, and so I finally said enough. So I cut back to 2. So performance is very important for me, and the satisfaction of doing well in a performance is something that really speaks to the soul. It's essential. But I can also listen to music, and some music is very, very important. One symphony that was critically important to me was a symphony called The Inextinguishable by Carl Nielsen. And in that symphony, towards the end, there's a gigantic battle. And there are 2 timpanists, one on either side of the stage. And there's the music over 4 movements builds and builds and builds until finally there's this just gigantic battle between the 2 timpanists. And then there's a letdown and there is a resolve, and the symphony ends in expression of hope. And that symphony was a very special one for me. I've played this 2 times, so I've had the satisfaction of being one of the battlers, but also just listening to it. When I was in the depths, I listened to that, and I always reached that point of resolve, that something was still good and hopeful, and there was purpose. And so that spoke to me a lot, but other music has been very important as well. I should say that my wife is long-suffering. She's had to put up with me all these years. We just celebrated our 50th anniversary. 51st, better get it right. Her music is different from mine. She likes choral music and gets great joy from listening to choral music. And being in Elora, we've got the St. John's Choir, which is an amazing choir, and the Elora Festival Singers, and that's her kind of music. And that speaks to her soul. It doesn't quite in the same way with me, though I do go to the concerts and really enjoy them. And I've had the great privilege of performing Brahms' Requiem with that choir. So music is very important for both of us, slightly different ways. I should say that in the concert band, there's an individual who, well, backtrack. I look after the Alzheimer's coffee breaks for the concert band, and we raise $200 or $300 for the Alzheimer's Society by this, and I stand up to the band and quite honestly say what my difficulties are and why the Alzheimer's Society has been important for me. And they're very generous, and they give money. Well, an individual several months ago came to me and said, I don't want anyone else in the band to know this. I think I have Alzheimer's. And so we've been talking about it ever since, and I think he's not quite ready yet to admit to what might help him by going to an Alzheimer's group or to any other source. So I'm the only one at this moment outside his family who is aware of this. So I'm working with him and trying to get him to face up to some of the challenges that he has, and that trying to make him aware that there's support for him. So this is through music. He admitted too that he has great satisfaction in going to the rehearsals. He's increasingly having trouble playing, and so I've given him some of the tips that I have used to be able to continue to perform, and he's applying them. So we're learning together.
Thank you for that, David. To you as well, Anne-Marie. So why is music important to your well-being or Carl's well-being in this case?
Well-being for both of us, actually, because I got great joy as Carl's Alzheimer's progressed to see him happy. The fact that we could sometimes control some of his behaviors. And people who are non-communicative can express themselves. Kristen, if somebody's really upset, would get a set of drums and they just bang the hell out of these drums until they could, get themselves back into gear. And so you can use it for diversion in so many different ways. And you can do it to calm people. You can do it to invigorate people. One time, and I think music provides for exercise too. And the reason I say that is a lot of times you can see people in a wheelchair who are non-communicative, and they're kind of moving around a little bit to the music. If you take their hands and you move them around and up and down and everything, they think they're dancing, and great smiles come out on their face. And one occasion, I was sitting on a table, and there was a person behind me and a person in front of me. And I took the person in front of me, I took their hands, and we're wiggling around to the music and big smiles on her face. And the person behind me is just killing themselves laughing. And one of the staff members said to me, I haven't seen that person laugh in years. Well, I guess my bum was running right back and forth, and she just thought this was terribly funny. And so, you can bring great joy in so many different ways. And I have one example of behavioral modification. One day, Carl was extremely frustrated and anxious, and I'm trying to hold him up, and he's racing up and down the hall, and I think, okay, he's going to fall. What are we going to do here? And I had been going with him for almost 20 minutes, and I was getting just a little frantic. And Kristen happened to walk through on the unit, and she saw this, and she ran out, and she ran back, and she had a floor drum, and she had her guitar. And she started playing frantic music where Carl was. We got him finally to a chair, but he didn't want to sit down, but he recognized the drum, I think. And Kristen started to play this very, very lively music, and he was just beating the blazes out of this drum. She slowed the music down, slowed it down, slowed it down, slowed it down. All of a sudden, his face went right into the drum, and he's sound asleep. So we take him back to his room, and good old Kristen here. These people really know what they're doing. She came in the room with her guitar and played lullaby types of songs, and Carl stayed asleep. And I'm forever thankful for that.
That's a great story, Anne-Marie. Thanks for sharing that.
There's so many beautiful moments that I get to be a part of, and that was one of them that really sticks in my mind, actually, is how music can be so beneficial in those times. And so I feel like I have the privilege on the daily basis that I'm able to use music to help people's well-being. And I do that by assessing their needs, and I figure out a treatment plan, and we work on different goal areas. So it's usually non-musical goals that I would work on with people, like cognitive skills, social interaction, affect, quality of life, and motor skills. And so I use music in all those different ways, and based on the best needs to meet that particular needs of the residents. And I use music and design a treatment plan specifically for them. So the next question, I'll kind of expand on some of the different ways that I might use music.
Okay. I just heard the dog shake. Is he okay? All right, thank you. Sorry, Lisa, could you remind me of the question again?
Definitely. So why is music important for your well-being or the well-being of those that you support and care for?
Okay. I guess this was a two-part question, so I was trying to think how to relate what music does for me and how it's the same for the clients that we serve. And I think for me, aside from the obvious emotional lift that everybody gets when they, participate in good music, music for me has been a way to, sort of foster interpersonal relationships throughout all my life. I'm still in touch with all my music teachers from the school I went to. They came to my wedding. I told you that my wife and I share music because she's a singer. My niece comes over to play the piano with me. I've gone back to my old school to participate in music camps. It's been this thing that's given me relationships throughout my life, and it's a part of how we use music in our day program. So, we'll have our big music program in the afternoon, which is really fostering that communal setting and setting a very welcoming atmosphere. But we'll also use music to foster interpersonal relationships in smaller group settings. For example, there's some days where, this being Kitchener-Waterloo, we have a lot of people from a German background. It might be a day where we'll have a few German ladies, and I'll get them together into one group, and I'll pull out the accordion and we'll do German music, and it's a chance for them to connect with each other on that level. We'll do group songwriting where people are sharing ideas and learning a bit about each other when you kind of ask them a question and they give you an answer that goes into the song. We'll do things where there's a discussion, a theme, and all the songs are based around gardening or weddings or vacations or whatever, and it's giving them the opportunity to talk about those memories. And so just in the way that music's given me these wonderful relationships throughout my life, we're using music to do the same thing with our clients. And we use music in many other ways as well, which I think we'll get into with the next question.
Thank you for that, Chris. So what are some ways that music is used to enhance quality of life for those living with dementia or memory loss and in caring and supporting them?
I'll just say one thing very briefly and then pass it to the experts on this one. I participate in a group called the Reminders, which is an Alzheimer's Society group in Guelph. And we've had several leaders, but one of them was great with music, and she got the group singing. And it was fascinating to see how people who were quite quiet and reticent came out of their shells and sang very freely, far better than I ever did. But I enjoyed their singing, and it was quite clear that music was speaking to them in a way and was able to give them a chance to express themselves that they were having some difficulty within the group when we were just speaking.
As far as enhancing life, for Carl, and I think for many, many people, once they lose the ability to speak in logical sentences and it becomes very difficult, if they can sing, and many of them can, and they can come up with the words, and when they can come up with the words, they feel great success. And you can just see that they've captured something that they know how to do, that they can do, and that lasts for a great, great long time. So I think, and with Carl playing the spoons around Sunnyside, he was performing, and Carl loved attention, by the way, and he got it. And it was just really quite wonderful for him. And Chris would get him up at the day program. He would get him up to the front of the room when they were playing or singing. And Carl would just tinkle that xylophone like crazy. And, he seemed to keep the rhythm, even when he lost the ability to get the right notes in the right places. But he still felt a great sense of success with that. And I think he thought he was bringing other people joy. So there was a purpose in his life, and it went on for a very, very long time. Carl died in July, and the last month of his life, he was bedridden. And for the last probably 2 or 3 weeks, Chris came in almost every day. And he would sing to Carl, and my daughters and I would be sitting there, and we would just be bawling. But Carl wasn't bawling. He was very calm, and you could see. And Chris has such a soft way about him. And so he would say, Carl, you know, we used to sing this song. So we talked to Carl as if Carl, you know, was a part of the activity. I'm always very impressed when people use the word client, because a client means that you're purchasing a service or you have a right to a service. And I think that, you know, when you get into facilities where they do their job particularly well, you hear the term client. There's an action, there's a participation between somebody who's providing a service and somebody who's receiving the service. And I think that's fabulous.
I think that music can be used in so many ways to enhance the quality of life of people who are living with dementia. And just a few examples, I could probably go on and on for a long time, but singing of familiar songs, I think, is something that is particularly important and effective for working with people who have dementia or Alzheimer's. People tend to remember the music from their youth or from their early adulthood. And so for somebody, if you want them for the goal to be able to maintain their speech or to maintain cognitive skills, for example, if you used a song like Let Me Call You Sweetheart, I might leave, like say, let me call you, and see if the person can fill in the next line. And that's a technique that is used in neurological music therapy, and it's called musical speech stimulation. So that's something that I would sometimes use quite frequently. I might also use songwriting with people who have dementia individually or in a group, and that might be a way for them to be able to express themselves to enhance creative self-expression. It can also be used to help maintain focus and attention and work on some of the executive functioning skills like organization and problem solving, decision making and reasoning. And so those are just two very small examples. I could go on, but music can be used. And I guess the point I just want to leave is that it's specific and it's used directly to best meet the needs of whoever I'm working with, whether individually or in a group.
All right. When we're training as music therapists, when we're in school and doing our internship, they kind of are teaching us to sort of organize what we're doing, through the types of goals we're setting. We're always having to write out these, care plans with goals, and it kind of guides what activities you're going to pick. And so the goals we have are like there can be many of them, but they seem to fall into about 4 groups. They can be a cognitive goal, it can be a social goal, maybe it's a emotional goal, or it's a physical goal. So I sort of touched on a lot of the social goals with the last question. The physical things you do are often like, movement to music things, increasing, range of motion. The biggest example I can think of that is we have clients in our program who will refuse to go back for the exercise program, but when the music's playing, they have no problem standing up to dance with a staff member. Cognitive goals, it's a lot of work on a lot of memory work. The memory is like a muscle. The more you use it, kind of the longer you'll have it. I think David's been alluding to that. And so those activities are maybe like are drumming, repeating rhythms you hear on the drum, and or they're I do a lovely activity with the tone chimes where I'm conducting the group and they're playing along to a recorded melody, to some instrumental music, and that's requiring them to focus and watch for my cue. We'll do matching games, name that tune, all those things that Kristen talked about. And then what was the other category? Emotional. Often in our program, we need to do things to reduce people's anxiety, especially if they're coming to our program and they're going to be staying for the weekend. And so often in those cases, they'll come in the door and it's Friday afternoon and they're staying there for the weekend and they're climbing the walls because they don't want to be there. and you're kind of trying to use music to kind of settle them down, get them into the program. Sometimes it's music for relaxation. Sometimes it's just music as distraction. I remember we had one lady who would come in, and the only thing that would calm her down was, God bless her, the theme song to The Littlest Hobo. But she wouldn't actually want to watch episodes of The Littlest Hobo. She'd just want to sing the theme song. So if that was on the television, she'd sit there and sing it. But as soon as the TV went off, she was, going for the door again. And I feel like I should talk specifically about Carl because Anne-Marie's been talking about him quite a lot. And I worked with Carl for several years. And for Carl specifically, the work we did individually with playing the xylophone, it was that memory work, it was that cognitive work that I was talking about earlier. So we would spend a lot of time on the xylophone just improvising to blues or calypso melodies so he could just, get all his energy out and play and really enjoy himself. But we also did a lot of, working on familiar songs, like simple songs that, have step-like melodies, and he'd play them by ear. So like Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree and When I Grow Too Old to Dream. And, he'd play those by ear, and they would get better, like week after week, slowly. And he really believed, he always said, like, this is making me well, I need to do this, I need to play these songs because this is making me well. And he really, really, truly believed that. And he was really, Carl really showed how far a positive attitude can take you when you have a diagnosis of Alzheimer's. And I remember once, we were playing the xylophone in the afternoon, and we had done a little bell song in the morning. It was just a little classical melody. It was the Surprise Symphony by Haydn, in case anybody knows that piece of music. But little simple melody, and he sat down that afternoon and started playing it on the xylophone. I said, "Oh, Carl, what are you playing?" He said, "Well, that's the thing we did on the bells this morning." I said, "Carl, that's really exciting. We've only ever heard that song once." And honestly, Carl was so excited. He was over the moon. He couldn't even put on his shoes to go home because he was absolutely thrilled with himself that he, remembered the song and played it in the afternoon. And it's those moments like that which make you want to be a music therapist, that make you kind of come in every day and do the same kind of things and do the same music, and you'll hold on to those moments when you feel like you're not getting anywhere with clients. You're going through the bag of tricks you have, your musical interventions, and nothing seems to be working. It's sort of those memories, those moments with people like Carl and all the other people that we've had come through the door that really motivate us to kind of keep going day after day.
Thanks, Chris. So one final question, and I'm going to ask you to very briefly, what do you think music and/or music therapist offers to those living with dementia that other therapies or programs do not?
I think that music is a universal language. I think it's intergenerational. And I'll tell you why I say that. My granddaughter was 11 at the time, and she was coming to visit her grandpa, and her music teacher knew that grandpa had dementia, and her mother had dementia. So she says to this little girl, if you take your instrument, I think they would like to hear you perform. So she came and she took her little clarinet out and set up her music very professionally, and all she knew was Jingle Bells and You Are My Sunshine. And anyway, she played that for about 20 minutes. People came out of the rooms, and they were singing, and somebody wanted to turn the music for her. So it's just, you don't have to be a professional in order to use music and use it particularly well. And it just brings such joy, and I think that it lets people express themselves, and there's just nothing better. And I'd like to just say to this gentleman, what a wonderful job you did, because look what music did when we were all concerned about the dog, and he gets up and we play some music, and people are tapping their feet and singing. It works, folks.
I think what makes music therapy so effective in working with people who have dementia is that it can be used all along the disease process. It can be used right from the onset right up to the advanced stage of dementia. And I find that you know, I'm able to adjust my interventions to meet the needs as people go along the disease process. And one of my interns during music therapy supervision, she said something that I thought of, a phrase that I thought was really great to share with you. She said, I think that music is the calm inside of the storm. So music, when people are in the more advanced stage, there's still music is inside of them, and there's these glimpses and times of connection when they are right with you. And I think that's why music is so effective.
I feel like I'm probably going to be saying the same things in different words. It's just how universal music is, which makes it such an appealing intervention. I mean, in our program we have rec therapists, and so we have a variety of programs that we do. We do, you know, a woodworking program, baking programs, you know, trivia programs, different like physical activities. And usually when we do those, often we're divided up into small groups, because you'll have, like, you know, you'll have 4 guys that like the woodworking, and you'll have a few ladies that are going to like the baking. You'll, you know, have like some people that like trivia. But music is the one program where you can really kind of get everybody into the room, and everybody's able to kind of participate, because it's a universal language. You can have like people that are cognitively low functioning are getting something out of it. Without, you know, making the people who are still cognitively quite high functioning, you know, they're not feeling patronized, because, you know, sometimes like it's inclusive like that. It kind of draws everybody in. And I mean, there's lots of, unfortunately, I don't like know them off the top of my head, but there's so many empirically sound music therapy studies that sort of prove this point. You know, using music in stroke rehabilitation. Whew, got it out. You know, they've done all kinds of studies showing that people are able to kind of walk further and, you know, recover more quickly when they're doing it to music. Without music, you know, their speech is coming back at a better rate when they're doing it with music. Unfortunately, I can't, like, you know, cite who did these studies off the top of my head, but they're all, you know, there and publicly available for people to look up if they want to really know kind of the science behind, you know, why we're doing what we do.
Thank you very much. I just want to say thank you to all of our panelists for sharing your experience and knowledge today. If we could, I think I'd like to hold off on the questions maybe until after Bev Foster speaks, and then if you do have any questions for the panelists, maybe we can address them then. I do want to try and get us back on time here. So we have been talking about music for the first part of this afternoon, and now we would like to do music for you. So I would really like to, again, thank all of the panelists, David, Anne-Marie, Kristen, and Chris. Thank you very much for being here today. We really appreciate that. So the next part of our program today is I'm first going to introduce you to our musical guest, Michelle Allard. Since retiring from the Peel Board of Education as a music teacher, Michelle has devoted his time to performing as a solo pianist and chamber musician, composing and volunteering. He is presenting a series of 7 concerts of keyboard music at the Forest Heights Community Center this winter, and currently volunteers at the Sunbeam Center, Westmount Chartwell Residence, the Community Music School of Waterloo Region, the Trinity Village Day Program, and for the Memory Boosters. Memory Boosters, if you don't know, and we have a lot of the members here today, Memory Boosters is a peer-led social club that was started in 2012. Their main goal is to provide a warm and supportive place for people with dementia and their care partners to socialize, relax, and have fun together. In addition, they share useful information such as details about educational seminars, adult day programs, and services that are designed to make living with dementia a little easier. And they say new members are always welcome. So if you're interested, they do have a table in the back corner, and please take some time to go and talk to them at that time. So I want to introduce you to Michelle, and I also want to introduce you to the members of the Memory Booster Social Club, Glee Club.
We'll call them up in a second, but first I'm going to explain something about the song. Did you have something else to say?
Nope, it's all yours.
Well, as Lisa mentioned, I dabble in composing, but I don't often get commissions. I was commissioned by the Memory Boosters to write a song, and I get good treats for that. Yeah, every time we...
Actually, there is one thing I do want to say. So this little project that Michelle and the Memory Boosters have been working on, I actually visited Seattle, Washington in the fall last year, and there's a group there that they call themselves the Zoo Walkers. So it's a social group. They get together and they go to the Seattle Zoo every week, and they meet. They go on a guided tour, and then they sit and have coffee and some social time. And when I was there, they had worked on writing a rap song. It's amazing. You can actually Google it. I can send out the link if anybody is interested. And so they actually put a challenge to me. They said to our Canadian friends, I want you to go back home and I want you to ask the partners that Mayrup is working with if they will meet the challenge and come up with their own musical piece, and we'd love to see it. So this is the result of that challenge, and then I'm going to let Michelle explain the rest.
Well, I think Lisa has a picture on the screen there, but this is the original document of a brainstorming session where the Memory Booster members we went around the circle and they just shared what it meant for them to be part of the Memory Boosters. Then I took some of these key phrases and came up with a song, which I think will be projected, will it, onto the screen? Yeah, the Memory Booster song. So I'd like to call the members to come up to the front and take your spots. And while they're standing up to come to the front, you could all take a chance maybe and stand and stretch a little bit if you have to, because right after this, you get a chance to participate in some music.
Sorry, again, this group are the members of the Memory Booster Social Club. And I was calling, they're a social club that convenes twice a month at Winston Park. They are a community group. It was actually started by a couple of the members of the group, Ann Hopewell, Ron Hopewell, Harry Gutowski. So they're the ones that started this group. They found that there was a need in the community for more of a social club, a gathering, and so they went about and this is their group.
Okay, here we go. Are we ready? Yep. Oh, you're already in the swing, right? Okay, it is a calypso number.
You will find words too on your table. There's a songbook, and they're up on the screen.
Yeah. Here we go with the Memory Booster song. 1, 2, 3, 4. The Memory Boosters we call our band, helping each other we lend a hand. We make new memories, challenge the mind, through the joys of friendship we will find. Laughing, crafting, eating, playing, a smile will make it all worthwhile. Facing the day with your friends who care, searching for the fun that we all share, greeting one another with a smile. These activities It's very difficult to design a sing-along for cross generations. As Kristen and Chris mentioned, they kind of, you find out what the people like and you sing that song. So what I did is made a selection of songs from cover about maybe 50, 60 years, but we're going to start off with one called Side by Side. And, I didn't include any Justin Bieber songs, because singing along is something, these songs seem to have a quality that the words are pretty simple, lots of good imagery. So here's one called Side by Side. Oh, we ain't got a barrel of money, maybe we're ragged and funny, but we'll travel along, singing a song, side by side. We don't know what's coming tomorrow, maybe it's trouble and sorrow, but we'll travel the road, sharing the load, side by side. Through all kinds of weather, what if the sky should fall? Just as long as we're together, it doesn't matter at all. When they've all had their quarrels and parted, we'll be the same as we started, just traveling along, singing a song, side by side. We'll skip the next one and go to the third song. It's a Walt Disney song. I'm sure you know it. It's got a great philosophical message. It's a world of laughter, a world of tears. It's a world of hopes and a world of fears. There's so much that we share that it's time we're aware it's a small world after all. 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 It's a small, small world. There is just one moon and one golden sun, and a smile means friendship to everyone. Though the mountains divide and the oceans are wide, it's a small world after all. If we could just do the next one, because when I taught this song to many young people, and it was usually around Remembrance Day, it's called I'd Like to Teach the World to Sing in Perfect Harmony, and it kind of fits right into our theme today. So if we can find that one, there we go. I'd like to build the world a home and furnish it with love, grow apple trees and honeybees and snow white turtle doves. I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. I'd like to hold it in my arms and keep it company. I'd like to see the world for once all standing hand in hand, and hear them echo through the hills for peace throughout the land. That's the song I hear. Let the world sing today, a song of peace that echoes on and never goes away. And if we can go to the 10th song. I'm labeling this song, this is the kind of national anthem of seniors' residences. Anywhere you go, they haven't listened to anything I sing. As soon as I start this song and I do this, oh, I know that. Right away, they can name that tune and win their $10,000. So let's sing this. The way I like to do it is you just sing it straight through and then we repeat the first two lines.
Michelle, what's the title of it?
Oh, You Are My Sunshine. We skipped the Beatle one because I don't have any copyright. If we're breaking copyright, no, I'm just kidding. You are my sunshine. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Was mistaken, so I hung. I love the harmony singing. Here we go, in harmony. You are sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't. You told me once, dear, you'd always love me, and no one else would come between. But now you've left me to love another. You have shattered all. Last time on the chorus. Here we go.
So I'd like to thank once again our partners, Home Care Assistance Waterloo, who helped make today possible through their generous support towards the event. And I want to introduce you to Angie, who is Kunath. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Angie. Yay. I'm going to invite Angie up to the stage to say a few words and also to introduce Bev. Please help me welcome Angie, again, our sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. So there's a reason why all of us are here today, and I'm just going to try and keep this short. Many of us, we struggle to find the best care option for a loved one who's struggling with dementia. And just a little personal touch to this. I was a caregiver myself. My grandmother, at a very young age of 72, she suffered a stroke. It was very devastating. And as a result, she ended up, with vascular dementia. She was someone who was 5 years into her retirement, enjoying life, and, loving her friends and the socializing aspect, and this happened. It was devastating. And we are a large family. And having seen this to happen to my grandmother, I decided, okay, you know what, I'm gonna be her caregiver the best way I can. And this was in my early 20s, I'm in my prime, and I'm like, no, I have to do this. It wasn't until I got into the depths of care needs of a senior that I sort of realized, what are your options out there, for people who want to do this but have other commitments that they need to juggle. And I kept telling myself, there has to be a dignified process to take care of someone who has this diagnosis. It isn't their choice. This happened to them. And what can we do to help sustain their living independently? And I think it was in that moment I sort of realized my calling in senior care. And a decade or so later, not to give away my age, is when we founded Home Care Assistance in Waterloo, Wellington. And our whole mission is to change the way the world ages. And it has to be a dignified process in understanding what the seniors' aging is and how we need to evolve our care needs. And that's how we are here. And we hope to make a difference in people's lives the best way possible and keep family members and family caregivers comfortable as well. And that's very key because everyone has to be comfortable and happy with the process. Well, that's enough about me at this point, and I think we should, it's time to talk about our keynote speaker today. Bev Foster is an experienced performer, songwriter, and music educator. She has taught music in both the school system and her private studio for a number of years, and was the executive director of the Ontario Vocal Festival and has been the director of music in several churches. In 2009, Bev founded and became executive director of the Room 2117 Foundation, as an organization that's dedicated to music and care. She speaks and writes extensively on the power of music, especially in complex care or life-limiting situations. Her passion for music enhancing quality of life and care is contagious. Please join me in welcoming Bev to the podium for her presentation. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's wonderful to be here today. I was so thankful it wasn't a Waterloo snow day. As I was coming from Port Perry this morning, it was just a really clean sail right across. I met Merup just about 9 years ago when Sherry Dupuis was really developing Merup, and we've just had a very close relationship ever since. Since I've gotten to know Lisa and her team, and through another whole series of events, I actually know Ken and Marilyn as well. One of my 4 children actually came to Wilfrid Laurier. I'm saying the other one. I hope that's okay. It came to Wilfrid Laurier, and she actually is a practicing music therapist here in this area. So it's great to be with you. And I thought I'd just start with a song. When I heard sort of the title of the day, I knew I wanted to open with this song. And then I'm going to sort of address you from over there, where I'm most comfortable behind the keyboard. Well, what a great title for today, because music is such a powerful thing. I mean, what a rich, hey? That panel was so rich. Lots there for us to digest and to nourish us as we think about music in us and in our communities. You know, music accompanies us on our journey and connects us to people, places, and events in our lives, and we heard that on the panel. It's cross-coded into our life passages, into our stories. Let's think about that for a little bit. Some of the ways that music accompanies us through our stories and the passages we live. We just had this conversation without any words. We shared story, sort of human experience story, through some songs that connected us. Maybe some of the songs I played really connected deeply with you because that was a meaningful song in your story. But music, even without the words, will often take us to a memory, an experience. For me, I have one, and I think, Michelle, I heard you playing this in our little dog interlude there. But this song meant so much to me and my husband, Rob, because Chariots of Fire was like the year we met, and he was a runner. I'm not so much a runner, but he was a distance runner. And Chariots of Fire came out, and I love the music, so we actually had it at our wedding. You know this one? We walked out as Mr. and Mrs. Foster to this song, with the soundtrack, of course. So whenever I hear that, it takes me right back to a whole pile of like very concrete memories, but also very wonderful sort of feelings of falling in love, and all of that kind of stuff is, for me, not just about Eric Liddell running across a beach. There's a whole pile of other meaning for me in that. Where might these pieces take you? I'm just going to play a couple of pieces. This isn't Name That Tune. That's not what I'm asking you to do. Where does this song take you? An event, a place, people, that kind of thing. So here's the first one. Okay, just at your table, just gab a little bit. There. Where did that song just take you? Okay, how about this one? New song. Okay, share again. Where did that song just take you? How about this one? When somebody loves you, it's no good unless he loves you all the way. Happy to be near you when you need someone to cheer you, come what may. That's probably enough. You could perhaps share a memory. You see, music connects us to our memories, our lived experiences, and immediately, even if you didn't know the song, you might know a song kind of like it, style-wise, and it takes you to a place, it takes you to a memory, it takes you to a lived experience. And as we share those with one another, we actually engage in learning about each other's stories and lived experiences. But music also connects us to one another as we share, and helps us form bonds between one another through events that we share, feelings, and I'll say ideals. When we hear music, it can trigger the memory of an event. Lisa shared at the very beginning, in the opening of today, a meaningful song at an event that really has left an imprint on her. And perhaps the memory of the people who were there at that event, the emotions and the feelings, like for me, Chariots of Fire at our wedding remains, and even the images and smells can be associated with a song. I mean, music is that powerful. It has that much effect. Music has the capacity to reach into all of our human experience and connect us at a very deep level in every human domain. As I sing this next song, I want you to think about the event that it relates to, and perhaps where you were, who you were with, etc. Comes a moment when my heart will stand alone on this lonely path I've chosen, like a house that's not a home. Sometimes when I feel I've had enough and I feel like giving up, you will me to be all I can be, but nothing can stop me. I believe in the power that comes from a world brought together as one. I believe together we'll fly. I believe in the power of you and I. I believe the time is right now to stand tall and make the world proud. I believe together we'll fly. I believe in the power of you and I believe in the power of you and I. Some of you are looking at each other. I know that song. I know that song. Where was I? Where's it? Anybody know where that song the event that song was attached to? Right, the 2010 Olympics. That wasn't too long ago. Did it bring it all back? That was such an exciting time in our house. Mostly because of the time difference. The kids got to stay up later to watch it. But I remember, like, when I sing that song, when I hear that song, I smell popcorn and I can taste pizza. And I don't know what that was like for you, but there's an event where a song drew millions around the world together, millions. And then when we hear it again, we can kind of go right back. Music also connects us through shared feelings. For me, I probably felt this the very most the day that Elton John sang Candle in the Wind at Princess Diana's funeral. I mean, I felt that song captured the grief that we shared together as humankind in this world. Music can do that also at a wedding, like on the first dance. We were just at our niece's wedding on the weekend, and you know, it was a beautiful day, and the music really well chosen, and the first dance, all of us aunts and uncles were so proud, and we felt such pleasure. And you maybe have had that experience too, where the music actually connects you together. But you know, music can also impact our moods. Funny, eh? The very same song, some days we want to turn up, another day we want to turn down, and another day we want to maybe turn off. Somehow, music and our mood has this word called symbiotic, this relationship where they affect one another. Our mood can affect how we listen to the music, but the music can also affect our mood. Did you know that neurotransmitters in our body are released in musical activity? Music listening and even anticipating music, like just knowing that it's coming, will actually release dopamine, which is all about pleasure. And endorphins, a natural painkiller. And serotonin, the mood regulator. And when we sing together, memory boosters, when you were singing together, when we were singing, did you know that our bodies were releasing oxytocin, the sharing hormone? That happens in particular when we do music together. So we connect with each other through events, through feelings, and also through ideas or beliefs. Like the protest songs of Pete Seeger, for example. Or hymns at church. Meaningful lyrics that are supported by beautiful melodies and harmonies can actually penetrate deep into our spirits and rest in our souls. There are beautiful classical songs like that for me. This is one of them. In fact, you know what? Most recently, I heard it here at Center in the Square with the Waterloo, or with the Wilfrid Laurier Symphony Orchestra. And this is, let's see if you know it. That's Gustav Holst's Jupiter from the Planets. But that haunting melody, there's a bit of a rhythmic, sort of joyful moment, and then all of a sudden that cuts through in the cellos. And it just, I can't explain it. It just goes very deep, kind of into my kidneys. and it just goes really, really, really deep. And it's just a beautiful thing, and it lifts my spirit. It's a spiritual thing for me, hearing Jupiter. So music can connect us. And I feel connected when those players played. I felt connected to them. I was one with them in that sense. So music can connect us with our memories. It can connect us with other people. But you know, we can also connect to music itself. Our bodies respond to rhythm. I was here in the room. I watched as we were singing. People were clapping, people were tapping. Lots of people were moving. We just do. We intuitively move because our bodies, we are rhythmic beings. That we are created in rhythmic ways. Whether we want to or not, strong beats draw us in. We may tap our feet, clap our hands, or get up and move to the music. And I'm going to invite you to do that right now. I'm not going to tell you the song, but just stand if you would. And whatever way you feel comfortable, I'd like you to respond to this music. Come on, I'm in Oktoberfest land. There you go. I figured when I was in Waterloo I could do that and there'd be lots of enthusiasm. But intuitively you jumped to your feet and you knew the moves and you were right in rhythm. And now I'd like to just think about that for a few moments because, you know, the panel really brought up some wonderful impact and effect of what music does. I have such a high regard for music therapy, music therapists, and the skillful work that they do, and the compassion with which they approach each client, each situation, each day. And so I'd like to just get underneath a little bit in a fairly simple way. I don't have much time, but to talk a little bit about why music works. Neuroscientists have had this love affair with music over the last 30 years, mostly because they can measure it, because it's what we call temporal. It's done in time, and it can be measured in the brain. And so neuroscience has taught us a lot about why music works and why it helps us make connections. One reason is because music gets stored in both sides of the brain. We say that is cross-hemispheric. Research also shows that the corpus callosum, and I've got actually a picture of that. It's like that elastic band that's going north-south. That's the muscle, or, well, not muscle, but the piece that connects the two hemispheres. That's thicker in musicians. That band is thicker in musicians, which would suggest that there's a lot of left-right brain connectivity happening in a musician's brain. Music gets processed in the brain in many places. For example, melody, like the tune, la 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 la, gets processed in one part. And then if I was going to sing some words, I don't know the words to that song. Are there words to that song? Chicken, 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 I don't know. Okay, let's say those are the words. The semantic part, the words get processed and encoded in another part of the brain. And, you know, the rhythm, in fact, components of the rhythm, so the beat, the tempo, the meter, the duration, all of those things, they're all broken down and encoded in various other places in the brain. The harmonies in another place. So that's why when we're talking today about dementia, that's such an important fact. Because think about it. When one part of your brain may be interrupted, impacted, you may be able to retain music, which is stored in various places in the brain. So where that part is stored may not be impacted. I think that's great news, don't you? And may explain why people that I've worked with may not know what they had for lunch, but they'd be able to sing 4 verses of See Amid the Winter's Snow, some remote Christmas carol, all 4 verses, because it's locked into various parts of their brain. Music triggers. We've already said that music helps us recollect events, people and places. This may be, and this is just a little bit of a part of the brain, the hippocampus is the gatekeeper, the one that says, yes, memory, you may come in to long-term memory, right? It's sort of the part of your brain, and it's highlighted there in yellow. It's the gatekeeper of memory, but notice that little piece, it's almost like an almond shape right above it, called the amygdala. That's where our feelings are processed. And notice that the hippocampus and the amygdala live side by side. In fact, they touch each other. When memories then are first stored, allowed in by the gatekeeper, feelings are attached to that memory. Could be happy feelings, might be painful feelings. But whatever the feeling is, it gets stored alongside that memory. Music then impacts the emotions, and the emotions are linked to the memory gatekeeper. One of my favorite movies of all times just came out last summer. It's called Inside Out, the Disney movie. If you haven't seen that, and you're struggling with memory loss, it's a brilliant view of how our memory works from a neuroscientific point of view. And if you see, there's some musical allusions in that film as well. It's brilliant. But it really shows and demonstrates how what I just said worked. So the thing is, if our hippocampus is impacted by disease, by injury, by stroke, our emotional memory connected to our musical memory may be triggered, or vice versa, by the music. The effect of neuroplasticity, that is neurons finding a way to connect around a blocked or damaged area in the brain, is important. And I really appreciated, Chris, the story of Carl, and I guess, where's Carl? Yeah, okay, yeah. Just the fact that you were able to teach Carl the xylophone. How many of you actually thought, how many of you were struck by that? Is any, okay, thanks for being honest about that. Because, you sort of think, okay, Carl's not able, he's not able. But that's just so not right. That's not true. Carl is able. And you found a way, Chris, to actually, that's neuroplasticity at its best, right there, finding new pathways through a new instrument. And, that's the hopeful news of neuroplasticity. The most striking case for me, the most salient case for me, was the case of Gabby Giffords, the senator that was shot. And the bullet actually took out the left side, basically all of her language areas, Wernicke and Broca's area. Here was this incredibly competent politician who all of a sudden couldn't talk, lost her language. Instantly, just like that. And it was the music therapist that actually found the new route through a song. I think, maybe you guys who are music therapists know the story better than I, but I think it was the song, "The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow, Bet Your Bottom," from Annie. That was the song. The music therapist had tried a number of songs, but that was the song that triggered a new pathway, a new route, a new way for Gabby Gifford to find her words. Research also tells us that the carryover effect of music, it can last. I've seen studies where it shows the carryover effect lasts up to 6 weeks. Now, you can't promise that every musical event will last that long, but it can. And dance is part of it too, in a lot of these studies. But you see, music reconnects, it enlivens, it wakes up. It reorganizes that which may be broken, lost, or dormant. David, you had me in tears. Your story is so powerful. Just to think that you went back to music and let it actually reorganize and I got to find another. It's more than that. It's almost like remake and from the inside out. That's how it struck me, your story. But very, very powerful what music has done in your life. It's able to revise and recalibrate some brain functions. So for example, in Parkinson's disease, which affects the basal ganglia region of the brain, if you play a steady 2-beat, you will find that rhythm and that period, they call it like a regularity or a periodicity of the rhythm, will actually regulate and reorganize the basal ganglia region, and the gait will improve. If you don't believe me, there's loads of examples on the internet. Loads. I was just actually at a research presentation on Tuesday night and saw another one. It's just astonishing how that can happen. And I could give you lots more stories, but I don't have time. Music connects us to our memories. It connects us to each other. It connects us from the inside out. But you know what, where I really want to sort of leave us today is as care partners, because many of us here have loved ones or we're care providers, and so we have clients or residents or whatever, wherever you're at. I wanted just to sort of give you some strategies that you can use. I believe that all of us can use music in our care, all of us. We may not be as skillful as the music therapists and who are just unbelievably talented and equipped, but they can often only be there for an hour. And so, there's a lot of other hours in the day or the night where we can use ourselves, our voices, we all have a voice, or we could use some recorded music that's designed, therapeutically. And so what I'd really like to do is give you some ideas on how you can begin to integrate music into your daily lives for optimal impact, in particular in dementia care. And so on the tables, Room 217 has given you some of our information about our resources. Not going to talk too much about that today, one in particular, but I'd like you to just take this sheet. This brochure called Smile, and we'll work our way through that. This is just giving you some handy tips. So S is for sing. So many health benefits for all of us when we sing. Hey, our posture improves. Intuitively, when we sing, our rib cage goes up, which means our shoulders go down, which means we have greater capacity for deep breathing, and our bodies just get better oxygenated. Singing gives us a sense of togetherness and belonging. Memory boosters, I wanted to ask you, why do you enjoy singing together? What does it do for you? Does anybody want to say? Happiness. That is so important. They're happy. Connections. It makes you forget your worries. Pardon me? It's uplifting. Yeah. Focus and attention. Mm-hmm. So there's just lots of great reasons to sing together. Do you know that our language system, how we process language in our brains, and our singing system are related, but they're distinct? So we may not recall a word as we're speaking, but we could recall that word when we're singing. Well, it's not new. We use the concept of that when we're teaching children A, B, C, D, E. It's easier to remember the alphabet when we sing it. right? And a lot of that is just because of how it's processed in our brain. So this is why singing is so important, because it may help us form words when our speaking words begin to disappear. So try this. Get one song that you are comfortable with and you're good to go with. Michelle, you referred to You Are My Sunshine. That's a great one. A lot of people use that one as a home song. But it might be, I like Lean on Me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. That's a song you might use. Or you might use Amazing Grace. You might use Eleanor Rigby. I don't know. Use this, and if, you know, and this is a fairly Western conversation we're having in terms of music. There may be something from your background that's has more meaning. But get that song, use it as an anchor song. That's a song that you're going to be confident with, you see, because there's a lot of people that actually aren't confident to sing. You know why? Because their teacher might have said, mouth the words. And so they just always have had this sort of complex through their life not to open their mouths, right? But that's a crock. We all have a voice. And you know, I would just encourage you to find that one song that you're comfortable with. And don't feel you've got to learn the whole opera, right? It could just be a part of the song. But that one song, you can use it to stabilize situations, to make connections or reconnections. You can hum this song. You can whistle this song. You can sing syllables to this song if you forget a word. You can use this song to encourage word retrieval. I didn't know that was the technical term that music therapists would say, but this is something I intuitively did with my grandma who lived with vascular dementia. And we used this a lot because singing will keep your brain active. And as you play with the songs, it's not about being a performer. It's about playing, and it's about presence with the song, right? It will make the song even more enjoyable. Let's try that for a sec. I've put this, I'm hoping some of you know this song. Do you know that? Cruising down the river on a Sunday afternoon. Oh, hold on for a sec. The words are actually up there. Okay, let's start again. Here we go. Here we go again. Cruising down the river on a Sunday afternoon. Lawns above, waiting for the moon. The old accordion playing a sentimental tune. Cruising down the river on a Sunday after. We're gonna do the same thing. I want you not to sing the words this time. You do something else. You can whistle, you can hum, you can sing la la la. Here we go. And you could even end it. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. You know, you can play with that a little bit. You don't have to be so square when you're using music, right? Now here's what, next slide. Here's the idea I think that you were getting across. And this was what I did with my grandma a lot. Cruising, so I would sing. So it's like, I'll sing, Nan. And, you know, cruising down the on a, like this. And you can play with that. I mean, you can play with it to achieve getting the right word, or you could make it more creative. Cruising down the freeway on a Monday after, you know, something like that. You can use that little technique and have a lot of fun with it. Let's make music. Have a dedicated time to make music together. This image is my husband, Rob, and his mom, Elma. And she actually is in middle stage Alzheimer's right at the moment and has pretty much lost her words, her speaking words, that is. They sing once a week together. And he goes into their home, and they sit on the couch, and they sing. They hold hands, they tell stories, and it is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And I get to be, when Rob comes back, and he's so full of the experience of being with his mom, it's just a wonderful thing. Another couple I know, they sing every night after supper. She lives with dementia, and he makes sure that every night they sit on the couch and sing 4 or 5 hymns together. These are the songs that they grew up with. These are the songs that have marked the diary of their life. And so they do that every single night. And you know what? It impacts the rest of the night. It impacts how she is the rest of the night. You know, make music with meaningful songs or silly songs. Dancing could be a part of your music time. Or, this is one of my favorites. It doesn't cost very much, and just about everybody can do this. And there's instant feedback because you can feel the beads in your hand. So you can have like a little $1.49 egg in your pocket, and you could make music together. Music times might even include listening to songs, but at the same time each day, I want to encourage you to make that a regular practice and make it purposeful. So you think about that in a purposeful way. Individualize. Research shows that familiar music has the greatest impact on our health and well-being. Not that other music can't be used, but to optimize impact, preferred music works best. And this is the basis of the iPod project, also known as the Music and Memory Project, and it's the subject of the movie Alive Inside, if some of you have seen that. It shows how people can be ignited by listening to their favorite music. And the results are very encouraging. And it sounds to me like the KW Alzheimer's group have you already engaged, or are you engaging in it? So they're starting out, and I just applaud you for that. If you like, I have a couple of copies of Alive Inside, that movie, at our table. I don't know if there's any left, but if you haven't, okay. But congratulations on doing that. I think that's a great outreach. Personalized playlists, which this is, I mean, this particular project is more of a delivery method, but you know, we can also deliver via computer if you don't have iPods or a CD player. It's a little trickier to do the mix, but it can be done. Look for musical opportunities and resources. And here's a list of a few that I just know about, and Lisa asked me if I'd share some of the things I know about. So some of the live pieces. Integrated choirs, you know, Alzheimer's group in London, Ontario, has a an Alzheimer's community choir. So they've linked the Alzheimer's Society with the Faculty of Music, no, it's not the Faculty of Music, it's the Faculty of Education music part at Western, as well as a convent. The convent is where they hold it. But this is not glee. I mean, there's a number of glees. This is a choir where they're actually performing off of octavos and singing some music and they actually perform. I think that's really, really cool. Sing for Your Life is a program that originated in England, but it's now come to Canada. It's out west, and it's slowly making its way across. It's more of a community choir, but it has a particular branch for memory boosting. Singing for Your Brain has probably been around the longest, and it accompanies Alzheimer chapters in England. And really what it is people get together. It's much like what you folks are doing, but it's every Friday morning, and the facilitators are trained. A music therapist in England started it. It's an amazing program. Basically, it starts with coffee, but it's very much the care partners come along, and it's just a great singing time. Java clubs aren't really, well, there's music involved. They're integrated into, it's really a peer support program that's used a lot in long-term care and retirement homes. And then people have sing-alongs. People just do singing. And then there's adult programs in this area, particularly in the Toronto area, that actually have ukulele programs to help boost memory and to just, especially muscle memory as well. So I think those are some things I know of, and I'm sure if I threw the floor open, there'd be more. What our interest is in Room 217 is we support, we cheer people on that are sort of frontline, people like music therapists, people like harp therapists, people that are trained, but we feel there's a void in all those other hours. And so we're committed to creating music care resources that are research informed and produced in a very excellent way with world-class musicians that can help in all those other hours. So, Memory Boosters is fantastic. It's once a week. No, twice a month, you said, twice a month. So there's a lot of days in between. And especially for dementia care, I'm a proponent that it needs to happen every day. It needs to be regular. It needs to be part of the routine. And so one of the resources we've created is Pathways, and it's a singing program. I'm going to show you a little video clip on it. This will tell you a little bit. This is from our beta test that we did in 30 homes.
They say music is the food of love.
By using something as simple as music, we can create meaningful connections and enhance the quality of life for people living with dementia.
We're engaging the mind in different ways that conventional ways don't work.
Hearing the old music that you recognize, it triggers a spark in your brain that makes you happy. To be happy is one feeling that everyone should have.
Pathways is a singing program developed by the Room 217 Foundation that supports memory care by engaging people in song.
Singing is such a wonderful music-making activity. We can all do it. We all have a voice. And there's so many benefits to singing. It stimulates memories or it stimulates feelings. It can also just provide so much happiness.
So I'm very excited that Pathways is now underway. It's a research-informed tool that will help target persons who are isolated that have dementia to participate in meaningful activity. They will sing along to music that is specifically targeted for that population.
I like this program. Oh, when it first came out, I loved it. I still do.
A lot of people do not come out of their shell until you put something on and they can relate to it, meaning they have a memory that they may not want to share with us, but they have a memory, which is wonderful.
Whenever I sing, I live the words. I know my voice isn't as good as it was, but I love singing.
It makes me feel very, very good. Every one of those people there enjoyed it.
Yes, it's a good day for singing a song, and it's a good day for moving along. It brings back childhood memories.
My experience with Pathways, I've never seen anything like it. The smile on their face, it's all worth it.
Singing and music always brings people out, and it always brings people out of their shell.
When they were able to sit into that setting, they become calm. And all of a sudden, the only thing that was important was what was happening in that moment. And within that moment, was able to take them back to their children, to their marriage, to their summer vacation. We don't care about the other moment with people living with dementia. In the other moment, is when it comes, so be it. But in that one moment, everybody was normal.
And we have a couple of other resources that might work for you too. I can certainly meet you back at the table. But finally, the E, evaluate. So, hey, listen, if music really has this effect we say it does, and I'm quite certain it does, then you know what? We need to actually observe what it's doing, because sometimes it doesn't work. I hate to say it, but sometimes, if I'm really going to give you the full story today, sometimes music has adverse effects. I won't go into all the reasons why, but we really need to pay attention to what's happening. And in the folder, I've given you a little bit of a checklist for things you can watch for and to observe the effects of music. So where from here? This is how we're going to end. Lisa asked me just to throw some ideas out. Goodness gracious, Kitchener-Waterloo, I'm thinking I'm in the mecca of music therapy land. And you've got such great community stuff happening. I have the utmost respect for what goes on in your community here. It's amazing. But here's a couple of ideas. Maybe emphases more than even strategic ideas, but encourage music making. The brain, David, this is why your story, again, it's so impactful, because the music making activates more parts of the brain. Music listening is great, it's very helpful, but the music making actually is even stronger. So replicate what you guys are doing. More memory booster, more cowbell, more memory booster. Singing groups in every long-term care and retirement home. And why can't that happen here? You've got the network here to be able to do it. You should be able to lead the world in this. Seriously, okay, I'll just splat it out there. Lead the world in this, folks, in KW, because you can. You've got it all here. Be intergenerational about it. Use elementary and high school students. I mean, the first time I saw a real Glee in action was here in Kitchener. And that model, we brought it to one of our conferences, and people across the country have tried to replicate it. You know, working with grade 5 and 6, 7, grade 7, 8 students with the seniors. You know, it's a beautiful model. Use high school students to help with the iPod project. I would say too, leverage the music therapists. It's just, they can do so much with you and for you. Leverage faith groups, big faith community here. You can use churches, synagogues, great places to partner with. I love in London, they're in a convent doing this choir, right? Because you're looking for spaces. You've got them here. And then finally, I would say leverage the researchers, okay? Like you have got, I just visited the RIA this morning, the new center. And you know, with MERAP, with the partners, the PEDIC and RIA, you've got the leading researchers in Canada right here at your doorstep. So here are some questions. What are the effects of music compared to pharmacological interventions? Measure them quantitatively. How does it impact breathing, agitation, these things, but in a quantitative way? What are the cost savings of music-based strategies compared to pharmacological interventions? And I touched on adverse effects. What are the predictors for adverse effects in music? There, I just went splat. So there's some ideas. I hope you can pick something up, and it's been a treat to be with you. And every blessing to all of you, wherever you're at, and keep singing.
I feel like I'm going to fall off the stage here. I just want to say thank you again, Bev, very, very, very much for coming today. Give you a small token of our appreciation. And thank you so much for sharing your stories and your beautiful voice and your talents with us, and to give us some, some things to think about and some science behind, the power of music. So thank you for sharing today. So we're running a little bit behind, but we have, the next item on the agenda is a very, very special item. Everything has been wonderful today. As I said earlier, MERAP can't do its work without our partners. And I'd like to honor some of those partners today. So this, as I said, the success of MERAP over the last more than 20 years is really because of the people that we are able to partner with through our research, through the creation of new tools. And today we have the opportunity to honor 4 very, very special people who have really helped MERAP with our own goals, vision, mission. But I'd first like to invite our founder, and Jim had introduced him a little bit earlier. I'd like to introduce our founder, Ken Murray, to the stage to help me with this presentation. So the award that we're going to be presenting today was created in 2009 in honor of Ken's 85th birthday. And so I'm very pleased that Ken and Marilyn were here today. They're flying away tomorrow on a vacation, so I'm glad they were here. So we have 4 awards to present. The first 2 are, I would like to call them our dynamic duo, husband and wife team, Mark and Maggie Weedmark. So I want to start by giving you a little bit about Mark and Maggie. Maggie had a career in public health nursing management for over 30 years in southwestern Ontario. She was initially diagnosed in 2010 with memory issues and later was diagnosed with a frontal variant of Alzheimer's disease. Mark was a newspaper reporter, an editor for many years, and then he became an internet producer for Torstar and finally chose to enter the education sector where he remains today. Maggie and Mark have been partners with MAREP for 5 years now. Yeah, it's been wonderful. Some of the roles that they have helped with are being an advisory hub member for our self-management project. Also, Maggie was involved in the pilot of that particular program that's now being offered through the Alzheimer's Society. The research and development of a bias forest guide, Safety When Out and About, that was done in partnership with the Alzheimer's Society of Ontario. They're now members of the Waterloo Wellington Dementia Advisory Group, and they're working on a dementia-friendly community project called the Blue Umbrella Project that's being piloted in the Kitchener area. And in 2014, MAREP and some other partners sponsored Maggie to attend the Alzheimer's Disease International Conference in Puerto Rico. And so that was a wonderful experience, and Maggie was just amazing. So yeah, they're true partners. You know, they stand up, they speak out, and they're really helping to change the face of dementia, and they're valued partners of MAREP, and we hope that we'll continue our partnership with them, and please help me congratulate them both for receiving this year's Kenneth G. Murray Partnership in Dementia Awards.
On behalf of Mark and myself, thank you so much for the recognition. Early in our personal journey with dementia, we realized that we could only achieve a healthy lifestyle if we were completely open with the challenges we had to face. Every day since we have been lifted up by community, by the people around us who give us support, friendship, and understanding. Thank you so much to MAREP and Alzheimer's Society of Waterloo Wellington. At every step along the way, the staff of both organizations have embraced a spirit of collaboration and welcomed us as partners in helping to create more awareness about dementia. Thank you.
So we have two more awards, and I'm going to do them as a duo as well, because it's almost like they come as a duo. The first person I'd like to introduce you to is Frederick Allen Stager, also known as Mr. Al. Al is married to his wife, Lynn, and for over 40 years now, and they have 2 wonderful children and 3 grandchildren. Is that still the right number? Al finished his apprenticeship at Budd Automotive and worked various manufacturing jobs. Al was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's about 4 years ago. Since then, he's remained an active member in the community, the Alzheimer's Society, and MAREP. Some of his involvements have included an art-based project that took place in Toronto, also part of the self-management advisory hub group that met for over 2 years, the Waterloo Wellington Dementia Advisory Group, the Dementia Friendly Community Advisory Board, He also participated last year in our first hackathon, Hack for Health event that took place here on campus, as did Mark and Maggie, actually. And he spoke last year at our 4th annual Alzheimer awareness event. So everything Al does, I just have to say personally, he brings his sense of humor with him. He's just an amazing individual. And we're very, very honored to have him partner with us, and again, to help with the work in enhancing the well-being of those who are affected by dementia. And he's a true advocate for himself, but also for other people. So I'd like to present you, Al, with another award, the 2006 Kenneth G. Murray Alzheimer and Dementia Award. Can I just ask Penny to come up too? Sure. You stay here. As I said, it's a sort of a dynamic duo here. Penny Stager is also a recipient of this award. Yes, they have the last name. They are not married. Lynn is Al's wife. Penny is Al's sister-in-law. When Penny first got let me start over again. So she's a neonatal nurse, and she retired about 8 years ago. She's married and has 2 adult child and 2 grandchildren as well. So Penny's mother-in-law had Alzheimer's, so her husband and his sister were powers of attorney for her, and Penny was there also as a care partner as well. So being a nurse, that came in very handy for the family to understand what was happening as the disease progressed. So Al is Penny's brother-in-law, her husband's brother. Al's wife, Lynn, asked if Penny would like to accompany Al to a MAREP workshop in Toronto. And I think that's sort of where things started. And since then, they have been volunteering together on a number of different partnerships with MAREP. So again, for over 2 years, Penny was involved in the self-management project as an advisory hub member. She sits as a member of the Waterloo-Wellington Dementia Advisory Group that meets once a month, and through her participation in that project, she's also become involved in the piloting of the new Dementia-Friendly Communities Initiative in Kitchener. And she also took part in the Hack for Health event last year as well. And she also spoke at last year's Alzheimer awareness event that we hosted. So Penny is just such an amazing person, and her commitment to the dementia movement is incredible. Even when Al is unable to attend meetings when they come together, Penny is still there as an advocate, and we are really proud to honor you this year with Kenneth G. Murray Alzheimer and Dementia Award.
This grouping that you see here, her and I, goes on. There's my wife and my brother. They look after me too. So it just goes to show how big a handful I can be. This is a real honor for me, and it's a double honor because of how my family has gone behind me. So, sorry. So it's twice the goodness as far as I'm concerned. So thank you. Thank you for... Excuse me, I'm going to horn in here. You notice that my manners have disappeared quickly. This is something that's going on with the Alzheimer's Society. We're trying to get some businesses in the area to recognize and help people. All they have to do is show that blue umbrella thing. I'm working on that too, so I needed to horn in here. Sorry.
It's all right now. Just ask Lisa if I could make a couple of comments. This whole project began 20 some odd years ago by a fundamental question. And I hope all of you can listen to this. And it was a question that a nurse manager asked me when I was in visiting my wife who was institutionalized with Alzheimer's. And the question was, how do I know that what I am doing for your wife is having a positive impact when she can't tell me? And folks, we've been looking for the answer to that question for the last 20 some odd years, and we're still looking for it. But one of the things I need to tell you is, in those 20 years, now we're comfortable talking about Alzheimer's and related dementia. Did you happen to watch TV last night? Did you see the number of young people talking to our Prime Minister about dementia? You know, it's wonderful. We are comfortable talking about cancer. We're comfortable talking about our hearts. We're also now comfortable talking about mental health. And I think what progress we have made. And you're looking at someone who, 25 years ago, didn't want to tell anybody that his wife had Alzheimer's. How far we have come, and how far we will continue to come, I don't know. But one of the things I want to tell you, I stay involved. Yes, I'm going to be 92 this October. I'm working on 100. But one of the things that makes me young is, I'm now saying to the young people in this group, and I know, damn it, most everybody's younger than I, but keep asking the questions. How do you know? And try to search for the answers. Only then will we be comfortable talking about our reflections. Bev, I want to tell you, my dear mother suffered from a heart attack. She loved the piano. She learned to play the melody with her left hand, only because somewhere up there said, I can learn to play the melody with my left hand, and damn it, she did. Folks, thank you. God willing, I'll be here next year.